These are 20 of the best players in the world, and the fire to compete never really goes away. But what does change is the body's ability to recover. And that reality framed a moment when Tiger Woods went live on air and quietly shifted the entire conversation. What seemed like a routine interview suddenly turned revealing. As Tiger alluded to rivalries many assumed were long finished. And while the moment was subtle, the message was sharp, exposing how deeply competition still defines him. Tiger's career has never been shaped solely by trophies, but by the rivalries that pushed him week after week, most famously with Phil Mickelson. Though longtime caddy Steve Williams once pointed to Vijay Singh as an equally intense on-course rival, a battle rooted not in personality but in sustained dominance during eras of constant swing changes and shifting form. When asked what part of Tiger's game he envied most, Mickelson didn't hesitate, pointing to Tiger's ability to block everything out and extract his very best under pressure, a trait that frustrated and inspired peers in equal measure. Tiger's rise in the late 1990s shattered the existing hierarchy, forcing established stars to evolve or fade. And even when Tiger and Phil weren't paired together, their parallel success at majors and later exhibition events kept the sports narrative alive and commercially explosive. Their rivalry, beginning in the mid-1990s, became a defining subplot of modern golf, framed as a contrast between Tiger's relentless precision and Mickelson's daring, crowd-pleasing creativity. With Phil later admitting Tiger dominated their early years before equipment changes and refinements helped narrow the gap. Despite that evolution, Mickelson acknowledged how difficult it was to rattle Tiger mentally, because his greatest weapon was always focus and toughness, a quality that made him uncomfortable only in the rarest environments. That dynamic ultimately came full circle in events like the 2018 match, where millions tuned in not just to watch golf, but to witness the echo of a rivalry that never truly faded, proving that even as bodies slow down, the competitive gravity between legends like Tiger and Phil still pulls the entire sport with it. The rivalry also reshaped how golfers approached fitness, strategy, and mental focus, with each pushing the other toward higher standards. And even though Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson never shared a particularly close personal relationship, their competitive distance itself became part of the story, showing how elite rivalry can elevate performance while shaping the public narrative of a sport. As Tiger gradually stepped away from a full PGA Tour schedule due to injuries and age, the discussion around his rivalries expanded to include a new generation of stars, most notably Rory McIlroy, who emerged as one of golf's defining modern figures with sustained success, multiple PGA Tour victories, and by 2025 a completed career Grand Slam that placed him in rare company. At the same time, questions around Tiger's return continued to surface, especially after a season in which he did not compete in a single PGA Tour event, underwent what was believed to be his 7th back surgery, and endured the personal loss of his mother, with expectations remaining that he would return in some capacity the following year, rather than a rivalry defined by head-to-head competition. Tiger's relationship with players like McIlroy now reflects a legacy dialogue, with McIlroy openly crediting Tiger's influence on his career and Woods, in turn, praising McIlroy's leadership during a turbulent period in professional golf. This shift highlights how Tiger's influence persists even without regular competition, as modern players are measured not only against each other, but against the long arc of greatness he helped define, signaling a transition from on-course rivalry to cross-generational comparison. Tiger's impact has also been shaped by moments off the course, particularly during live television appearances where his words have carried significant weight, including instances tied to the PGA Tour versus LIV Golf conflict, when reports surfaced suggesting anti-LIV talking points were prepared in his name, prompting Tiger to publicly clarify that he had never seen or approved such material. These moments underscored how high-stakes negotiations involving player loyalty, Tour governance and vast financial interests inevitably spill into public discourse, influencing how fans interpret Tiger's stance on golf's future. Throughout the escalating PGA Tour and Saudi-backed LIV Golf divide, Tiger has remained a vocal defender of the PGA Tour's traditional structure, most notably at the 2022 Open Championship at St. Andrews, where he criticized LIV Golf as a departure from the competitive rigor and traditions that defined the sport, stating that players who chose the rival league had turned their backs on what allowed them to reach the highest level, a position that reinforced his role not just as a legendary competitor, but as a symbolic guardian of golf's established identity during one of the most disruptive periods in its history. I think what they've done is they've turned their back on what allowed them to reach this position. And Woods' comments went beyond personal preference by directly addressing the impact on golf's merit-based competitive culture, questioning shortened formats and guaranteed payouts as incentives that could weaken the grind and discipline historically central to the PGA Tour, while still maintaining a measured tone when discussing efforts to reunify the fractured professional landscape. Noting in February 2025 that talks between the PGA Tour and LIV-linked stakeholders were in a very positive place, signaling optimism for resolution while reaffirming his commitment to the long-term health of the sport. This debate remains significant because it touches the core of golf's future governance, player loyalty, commercial power, and legacy, all amplified by Woods' influence. Beneath this broader conflict sits one of golf's most enduring personal narratives: the complex rivalry between Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, which extended far beyond scorecards and headlines. As Woods maintained a clear statistical edge for much of their careers, while Mickelson evolved and adapted over time. Mickelson has openly acknowledged that Woods' fitness-first mindset pushed him to transform his own physical and mental preparation, changes that allowed him to compete into his 50s and even capture a major championship later in life. An extraordinary achievement. Their rivalry also produced symbolic moments, such as Mickelson famously naming a putter the Tiger Slayer after outperforming Woods in a 2012 event. A small but meaningful moment of redemption during years largely defined by Tiger's dominance. Off the course, competition and tension often delayed mutual respect. But by events like the 2016 Ryder Cup, the two began working more cooperatively, reflecting a relationship that evolved from pure rivalry into a shared recognition of each other's lasting impact on the game. Understanding this deeper context shows how rivalries shape athletic careers and drive broader cultural shifts within a sport, not only through direct competition, but through mutual adaptation and evolving respect. As Tiger Woods' playing schedule has diminished due to age and injuries, the narrative around his rivalries has shifted toward younger stars like Rory McIlroy and the modern generation. While Woods and McIlroy have been paired in tournaments and frequently compared by the media, neither has framed their relationship as a true rivalry, instead emphasizing respect, perspective, and occasional banter. In earlier appearances, including events like the Abu Dhabi Championship, both downplayed the idea of a heated rivalry, noting that true rivalries require repeated high-stakes clashes, something their careers have not consistently overlapped to produce. Commentators point out that while McIlroy openly acknowledges Tiger's influence on the game, his own success represents a generational transition rather than a direct challenge in the traditional sense. His achievements in major championships invite comparison without hostility, and even moments that make headlines, such as McIlroy joking about Tiger's age during a team event and Woods responding with humor, reflect camaraderie more than confrontation. This evolving dynamic highlights a shift in golf storytelling away from constant head-to-head battles toward intergenerational comparison, where legacy, influence, and respect matter as much as competition. And yet, this story may not be finished, because what Tiger revealed on live television feels less like a closing chapter and more like a reminder that history, Competitiveness and pride still linger beneath the surface, ready to re-emerge the next time he steps in front of a camera.